Hi, I'm Joan Kelley Walker. Thank you for joining us today as we take a stroll down the Fash Avenue. My special guest today is Shenaz Mohammed. Welcome, Shenaz.
Thank you.
Shenaz is the founder of Fashion by Law. Let's start with that. What does Fashion by Law do?
So Fashion by Law is a consulting company that I founded, and we offer creative entrepreneurs and entertainment entrepreneurs consulting ranging from business to legal to social media.
So it's like pretty full encompassing. Do you find that it's mostly people that have startups within the fashion industry that are coming to you for advice? Yes. Or is it like established brands?
Well, I did start off with a lot of startups, and now I'm really happy to announce that I do have some mid to established brands as clients in my roster. And one of the things that I love doing with Fashion by Law is we do a lot of branding strategies with young budding entrepreneurs and kind of help them set themselves up into the direction that they want to go with their brand and help them really crystallize what they're looking for.
Sounds like I need your advice. We need to talk later on. I'll set up an appointment. So what advice, like what do people need to know if they're thinking of starting a brand? Like the whole legality of it is like, it's something completely different, because most people that are starting a brand are kind of a creative brain. So what advice would you give someone if they come to you and say, you know, I've got this great idea, I really want to do this. What do they need to know legally?
So first things first is they would need to understand, do they want to be a sole proprietor? Do they want to incorporate? Do they want to have a partnership? How do they actually want to have their business be identified, you know, for government purposes and also for their own billing purposes? So that's something that we can explore, and then depending on which way they go, I help them actualize their incorporation or help them set up a bunch of contracts in place so that their business dealings can kind of run seamlessly for them.
Wow. So what mistakes are people making? Like what's the biggest thing people come to you and say, oh, I don't know, this happened, I didn't know about that?
So some of the things that come up are branding with their name. There can be companies that find a brand name that they love, and then they don't do everything they need to secure that name as they go on to build their business. So you don't want to be building a brand where, let's say you have a name that you love, and then you find out that somebody else in the United States owns the trademark for that in the United States, or somebody else owns that, you know, worldwide, or there happens to be another company that already has a trademark with a very similar name. So those are the kind of catch holes that we try to avoid right from the early onset of when you have a great idea and you're thinking about, what do I call this?
Right, okay, so that's pretty basic. Now, something about the industry, do you ever find that there's a glass ceiling because you're female within that industry?
Ooh, so yes and no. I feel like when I was on Bay Street and just in strictly legal, there were times that I would look to see if I could see other women mentors in, you know, the firm, etc., and the numbers were very low. At that point, I decided when I went into this industry and to kind of marry fashion and law, I started to create a niche for myself. And I'm happy to say that one of the things that have really helped me is to utilize the things that are unique to you. So if you're a woman in fashion, or if you're a woman in business, or you're a woman in law, you know, take the things that make you unique and use those as your strength. When I was at Bay Street and we were working on some really big deals, I remember my partner would take me into, like my senior partner on the files that we were working with, he would take me to meetings just to kind of soften the mood, and that was something that I realized was a good asset to hold on to and just really own it. I think sometimes women entrepreneurs...
So you never took offense by that? That was just him being smart?
He was being smart, and it's humanistic, I think, that there's always a good synergy when you have a team or if you're working on a project. And if you can really hone in on the things that make you unique as a woman and then use that as, you know, your asset in a way, it's great. I'm not saying, you know, go all dolled up to the boardroom just to get deals, but when it comes to negotiation and empathizing with your clients, I find women entrepreneurs have a slight advantage to their male counterparts.
And it's also about putting your best foot forward, your best face forward.
Yes.
And always just bringing your A game whenever you can. Yeah. And I totally agree. I really think that makes a difference. Let's talk about fashion. You are known as being one of the fashionable women of the city, one of the most, I should say. And you certainly have quite a following. How would you describe your personal style?
I feel like my personal style is, I lean towards things that are a little more elegant, classy, most likely covered up than most people would like. It's kind of like that retro, I'd like to say Audrey Hepburn kind of style, but I do wear a lot of casual things here and there.
Right, casual, but usually with heels, I think.
Yes.
Yes, definitely. So this week in Toronto is Fashion Week. Tell me, how excited are you? Like, do you go to every show? Do you go to all the shows? Are you selective on which ones you attend?
So I'm super excited. I love supporting Canadian fashion. I haven't gone to all the shows. I do go to the shows where I have a relationship with the designer. So I did check out, for example, the Zoff show. I'm really excited to see Manny Gesso, Christopher Bates, Hilary McMillan, and Narcissus. So I love to go and support the designers whose story I actually know and whose clothes I've actually worn or would love to wear. Yeah.
So how do you decide what to wear when you go to Fashion Week?
Oh, the $1 million question. The pressure is always on. I feel like it depends on the weather. And so, like for example, today I am doing a 2-change wardrobe look, and I like to take pieces from the designers that are showcasing. So I wear a little bit of Zoff and a little bit of Manny Gesso just to support and show like the previous collections that have passed.
So like logistically, how do you do that? That's a really hard thing to do. I've had to do that, and I've had to have assistants, and you're passing garment bags back and forth, and then I always worry about the garment I just took off. Is it somewhere safe? What if something happens to it? So what's your process?
So I was lucky enough to have some real serious hands-on experience in fashion in terms of launching and assisting in launching a menswear line. And what people don't realize that it is very laborious. So I think for you to have a team of people with you or a stylist to aid you and kind of go through your looks well in advance, so like probably 2 weeks, if not 3 weeks before. It's like a serious full-time job, and kind of have your outfits set up, and then you've got each garment bag where as soon as it's done, it goes right back in there, so you're not mixing up different things, especially if you're wearing different designers throughout.
So it comes down to planning.
Planning.
Always. So
everything.
How far out do you plan?
I have been a little negligent this week, but usually I'd like to plan at least 2 to 3 weeks in advance.
Wow.
Yeah.
And do you pull mostly from your own closet?
I do mix and match, so sometimes I'll wear some really cool pants that I own and match it with a beautiful jacket from a designer or vice versa. So I think it's nice because it makes it accessible.
And you kind of touched on the fact that you had co-founded a men's wear line, right? Can you expand on that?
Yeah, so the line that I had co-founded with my partner, it was HD Home, and now it goes by Dala. And that venture kind of came about very much as a passion project. It started off, both myself and the designer, we didn't have any previous knowledge or background in fashion. So it was something that took off, and we got to learn a lot of hands-on experience.
So why menswear?
I feel like women's wear it's a lovely market. It's a huge market. It's also oversaturated, and women clients sometimes can be difficult. And I feel like at the time when we had menswear come up, there weren't that many menswear brands. Like they're the big ones out there like Tom Ford, etc. But locally, there weren't that many menswear brands. And so it was this area where I felt that there was a lot of room to grow.
And also, what a great way for you to jump in and learn from your client's perspective.
Yes.
Is that something that you really capitalized on?
Definitely. All my hands-on experience in the industry is actually what led to Fashion by Law starting, and I've sat on different boards. I assisted with the Canadian Arts and Fashion Awards, and it was kind of going through that journey and getting to meet all the designers nationally, Toronto, Montreal, etc. I really got to understand what is it that this industry needs? What are these designers facing, and what are they looking at in terms of marketing?
So what is it that this industry needs?
Oh dear, there's a whole bunch of things, and there's a lot of contribution. I think for Canada and Canadian designers, we've got so much talent, and people are really looking for a platform and an avenue to express that. You know, every designer, every brand, it's a story. And when you really get into that story, you say to yourself, well, I'm wearing, for example, a Pascal Labelle jacket, and I know he puts all this effort into it and how long it takes. Or if you're wearing a Stéphane Carras dress and you know it's taken 1,400 hours or whatever it is. It's a family
everyone's
business.
Involved.
Yeah. So you really get to, I feel like Canadian designers have so much heart and soul behind their craft. And, from the government standpoint, the amount of resources that they get is not as much as, for example, in music or acting or those types of arts. So that's something that our designers do face, and I think that's something that we definitely
So how do we change that? How do we level the playing field a bit so that fashion is recognized on an equal playing field as the rest of the arts?
Well, I think for sure government lobbying helps, trying to have fashion recognized as an official art where grants are given out helps. As you know, the Canadian Arts and Fashion Awards, they do their bit by creating grants, subsidiary grants, whether it's the Suzanne Rogers or the Joe Fresh grant, but these types of
individuals.
things. Exactly. And so having a platform where there's more of that available across the board would be a good start.
And I think you would be a really good person to lead the charge.
Well, there are quite a few people in the industry that are doing that, and I do always try to lend my voice and my time and resources to those causes. So let's keep going with that.
Yeah. So what's next for you?
Well, I'm actually relaunching Fashion by Law. So the website will be coming out very soon. I'm excited to. I learn as an entrepreneur myself, and so I've been sitting with the Ryerson Fashion Zone as an advisor, and I took a little hiatus and decided to come back and rebrand my own brand. So I'm very excited to have that launch.
And what can we look forward to? What changes?
More packages that are offered. I'm doing a lot more branding sessions. I'm also doing a lot more speaking engagements and just kind of getting that voice out there so entrepreneurs in the industry can find me easier. I've kind of been hiding away a little bit and focusing on work, and now it's, you do the work, but then you've also got to market that you're doing this work at times, so.
Beautiful. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you.
And thank you as well for joining us as we stroll down the Fash Avenue.